Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of NCIS Season 19, Episode 16, The Wake. What a unusual episode this was in some ways. It had different uses for characters than we've seen, including, extremely angry, jealous, listening to podcasts and getting mad Torres.
Also, this episode was a bit gruesome. I kind of felt like I was watching Criminal Minds instead of NCIS with this one. And if you guys have been around a while, you know that I'm a former funeral director. I've seen some stuff, and I was grossed out by what was happening coming out of that plane falling from the sky. I was just like, oh, no, I can't.
We have a lot to get into here, including some very exclusive advice for everyone planning their next gender reveal party.
Don't do it.
That is the advice. All right, before we go further, hit that subscribe button. We are here talking about NCIS every single week. We don't want you guys to miss any of that or our other coverage of shows like The Blacklist, This Is Us, Killing Eve, Power Book 4 Force, and a lot more.
And thank you to everyone who has subscribed. We're almost at 59,000 subscribers. It is such a cool milestone to be almost at. So, thank you very much. And yeah, if you love NCIS, we love NCIS. We are here every Monday talking about it after the show.
Okay, gender reveal parties here. Obviously, if you can resist the temptation, that is highly recommended. But if for some reason you're like, I'm going to not listen to these two people who I enjoy watching on YouTube, I'm going to do it anyway, here are some other quick pieces of advice. Don't set anything on fire. I've read enough stories about this in California. Don't hire some airplane pilot to do stuff, because then you never know. You might have pieces of bodies falling from the sky. Just go and buy a cake and have the color of the, if it's a boy or a girl, have it in the cake. That is sweet, that is wholesome, and that does not hurt anyone.
I don't know why gender reveal parties have gotten so out of control.
Yes.
Cake is delicious. Cake is fun. Just, get a cake, man.
Yeah, this is the grossest, I think, start to any NCIS episode that I can imagine in recent memory.
Yeah, the only other one that really hit me like this was the one with the hot tub, if you guys remember that one.
I had tried to forget.
No, this one was gruesome. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a really gruesome sort of setup for what, interestingly, kind of went into a case that didn't actually have that much to do with the gruesomeness of it. It just okay, that happened. Now we're just going to talk about true crime for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, and I felt like I was watching a PSA on don't believe everything you hear on a true crime podcast, because we had this case where it was like an unsolved murder, and there was podcasters that were talking about it where it was the husband did it. We absolutely believe it. And the influence that podcasters or YouTubers or whoever can have on their listeners when nothing's actually been decided yet. No criminal case has happened. No verdict has come down, but the court of public opinion has already put the hammer on somebody.
I think it's a problem where in society today, because we have platforms and we have bigger access to platforms, that automatically makes people believe that they're experts. Like, for example, if we came on here and we claimed that we were experts on NCIS because we watch a show entitled NCIS, we would be morons fooling all of you, and you guys should not listen to a single thing we have to say about actual NCIS. Yes, listen to us about the show.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube and podcasts and stuff, they're fun if it's people's opinions and giving some facts, but kind of okay, so here's an example. I love true crime. I am like Casey and Jessica. I listen to true crime YouTubers. One of my favorites is Bailey Sarian. You guys may listen to her too. She does every Monday. It's like a murder makeup mystery where she does her makeup and she'll talk about a true crime story. However, she's very good about letting people make their own sort of judgments about it and not putting in straight up her bias if it's something that's unsolved, she will say, listen, it's unsolved. So like, take this for what it is kind of thing. And she's not just like, he did it, she did it. And that's something that I do appreciate with her. And I think like, there's even other YouTubers. There's another YouTuber I listen to named Paige Christie, who's really good at dissecting stuff like this, and she just did a video about true crime podcasters and how a lot of them don't do that. They will straight up, put someone as guilty or innocent or whatever with their bias and their slant on things. And listen, it's YouTube, so I understand that that's the way it is. You come to our NCIS, we're going to tell you if we like it, we don't like it. There is a bias. But when you're talking about something that's true crime, something that is real, NCIS is just a TV show. This is not real people. If you are talking about someone's real life, you better be sure about it. Like, it has to be 100% if you are going to put that hammer on somebody.
Like, yeah, that's a really big thing here. Like, we can come on here and we could say, oh, we love this episode or we hate this episode. But even if we say we hate it, Steve Binder is not going to go and scream into a pillow. We're not going to be ruining his life.
No, what Steve Binder is doing.
I feel like he is going to go back to his mansion, open a bottle of his favorite beverage, and
play with his kids because he's like the best dad.
Yeah, his life, the quote, Jeff Probst in one very random episode of Survivor, his life is fine. He does not, it's okay if he, but other things like true crime, the consequences of this stuff getting out there, of these opinions, are a lot more serious.
Yeah, they really are. And I actually really appreciate that NCIS did this episode because it's not really something that is talked about that often. Paige Christie, the YouTuber that I just mentioned, is the only person that I've seen that has talked about it. And that doesn't mean she's the only person that has talked about it. But, I watch a lot of YouTube, and she's really one of the only people that I've seen come out to kind of be like, be careful what you listen to, really, take a step back from it. And seeing NCIS talk about it on such a huge platform is just, it's good to see because I think it is important.
I think I'm probably a little bit more of an outlier because I know you listen to a lot of true crime. I know a lot of NCIS fans listen to a lot of true crime. I don't really listen to very much true crime. So I kind of went into this episode more from a standpoint of, okay, how are they going to showcase this case and the other side of it if this guy does turn out to be innocent? And I am at least happy that they put that scene at the very end with, the victim's sister coming back in and sort of embracing him after spending he is very, very forgiving. I will say that after everything that he was sort of put through, because it's hard to know what could have happened after the fact.
Yeah. And this is again where sort of podcasters and YouTubers would come back in on stuff like this because we've seen cases out there already recently in the news where YouTubers or podcasters have gotten something wrong and, have been taken to court over it and then still double down on what they got wrong. And that's the thing where it's like, oh, there was this great moment at the end of the episode where, the sister was like, okay, I'm really sorry. And he's like, okay, I forgive you. But the truth of the matter is that guy is still going to end up going through the rest of his life with podcasters doubling down on, it's very rare that you have someone come back on and be like, I'm going to eat some crow. I got this wrong. I apologize. That's not really that normal. It is more normal to be like, no, I was right. This is why. Here's the facts that I found as like an internet sleuth. And people who already felt like this guy was guilty, he's still going to have that. It's not all of a sudden erased.
I think that part of it speaks to something that goes just beyond true crime or even just beyond the internet. That speaks to, and this is my old man rant of the day, everyone always thinks they're right. And even when they're incredibly wrong, they will then be like, no, I'm still right, despite any evidence, we've seen enough YouTube comments to know that this is very, very much a thing. And it's just like, what feels good sometimes? Saying you are wrong, admitting your imperfections. It's okay to have an element of frailty. Guess what? People will probably like you more if you are not a know-it-all all the time. That's my end of my rant. I'm done.
You right.
Okay. Well, guess what?
But it's true.
Yeah, it is true.
It really is, with podcasts and YouTubers and internet and social media, it is really just multiple platforms of I'm right and you're not right.
Now, here's another big question. Would you watch Nick Torres, or I guess listen to Nick Torres's podcast? Because this was a very absurd plot line that I did at least get a couple laughs at, where he is jealous that like McGee is the star of the NCIS podcast, and he's just like, I'm gonna make my own now.
Well, again, it's about the idea that podcasts are wrong, right?
Yeah.
They can't even get Torres's name right. They're calling him Flores.
Yeah.
The podcaster won't even return his calls. They are getting information incorrect because they don't know, right? Would I listen to that podcast from Nick? Yes, because he's actually was the person who was on the case, and I find that even more interesting because they'll be able to give me some details that other people can't.
The funniest thing I think to me about all this is that both Wilmer and Deanna have had podcasts in real life, and it's like, okay, we're gonna have you guys act in this episode, even if it was just for that split second with Casey. As I'm pretty sure Deanna did not use that voice in her actual podcast.
I love the friendship between Jessica and Casey. Like, it has really been continuing on to the point that they are hanging out every single Friday night and drinking wine and listening to podcasts. I don't have any friends that I see every single week. I love you, my friends. But no. I can't see everybody every single week. It's too much. Also, like working with somebody every single day and then spending time outside of work with them. Obviously, you're excluded because
Thank
you.
you.
But in general, it's a bit much.
It's a lot. I'm lucky.
Their friendship is solid.
I'm lucky if I talk to one of my friends on the phone every week, let alone like hang out with them in person. It speaks to the strength of their friendship. I am happy for you guys. I hope we actually get to see like more of them hanging out on the show.
Yes.
Also, NCIS, like as many good moments as there were in this episode, and there were some, how do you guys not even tell us about how the wedding date was with Jessica and Jimmy? I know you're not going to give us a full-fledged relationship right away. I am acutely aware of that. But can't you at least be like, I don't know, have McGee ask Jessica, so how was the wedding? Oh, it was great. We did nothing.
This is a procedural. They were not going to give us that. Or they did give us what happened, which is nothing. And that's okay. It's just a first date. They went to a wedding. It's a lot of pressure to have a date at a wedding. Like, they also both were kind of like, this is just for show. This is just for the wedding. So, I mean, they may have just had the night. This is what I think happened. I think they had the night. They had a really nice time. They got to know each other. And that's it. I think it's just, that's where it is just right now.
I'm going to assume it was good, because if it was bad, they would have complained about it at work.
Yes, absolutely. I think that they are just building and getting to know each other.
All right, now let's spend a little bit of time reading way too much into something, because this is what I did in my head here with Alden Parker. I think this is because I am really desperate for like actual backstory on this guy, especially since last week's episode didn't really actually give any of it. So he has this line in this episode where he sort of talked about having like a different hobby every year, and he mentioned ornithology as one of them. And sort of the picture that I'm kind of getting for this character, and I think this is really interesting, I think it would be fun to sort of explore this with him, is that he, in between all these different hobbies, in between all of these different pastries, how he knows where all of them are, he strikes me as a guy who wants to very much be sort of a man of the world, someone who is worldly and fascinating and a Renaissance man and all of these sort of things. And I'm not saying that he is overcompensating, but I think I do wonder, is a lot of this due to either an emptiness that he has, or just sort of a recognition of, I didn't have, for whatever reason, a normal life. I did not have the things that a lot of other people had. Like, we don't know if Parker really, had a family, if he has any kids. We don't really know anything about, like, his relationships, the romantic side of things. So I just kind of wonder, did he sort of get to a point in his life where he's just like, you know what? These other things, for whatever reason, they didn't happen for me. And so I'm going to live my life under these very different terms, and I'm going to find a way to enjoy it, to find just passion and new and exciting. I want to know more about this.
Yeah, he may be filling a void, or he may be just a guy who's like, I get one life and I want to live it. And he's a little bit older, so
Yeah.
maybe he's already kind of lived more of a stable life, or had, we don't know a lot about him, so maybe he already lived that life, and now he's just like, you know what, I want to do something different. I live my life to its fullest before, I don't have any life left to live. And there are people that are like that out there. I used to have a boss that changed his job every 10 years. He's like, why should I be at one job for my whole life? There's all kinds of fun careers to have out there. And every 10 years, it'd be like, okay, I'm done operating helicopters. Now I'm going to make movies for 10 years. And he's a very interesting guy, but it was very fulfilling for him. So who knows?
I kind of wonder this. Is Gary Cole, I want to have a new hobby every year? Because it's very weird to me. Like, Mark Harmon, he really did seem like, the clean-cut, all-American dude who would, like, build a boat and be a hero. And this actually kind of feels like Gary Cole, where he's just sort of, like, a little out there and kind of quirky and kind of weird.
Yeah, I like it. I just want to actually get to know him a little bit more, because we've already had this with Gibbs, where he was very closed off and he just didn't really give off very much information at all. Now we have Parker, who's giving off information, like a lot of information, but the information isn't really connected to anything. Like, okay, he's bringing in a bunch of pastries. Cool. How is that actually connected to you? Oh, you have the zebras on drugs story. Okay, well, how is that actually connected to you? Like, what is connected to you deeply on a deep level? And we're not getting that. It's sort of just opposite Gibbs, but also the same. We just can't get to know them.
Yeah, it's a weird spot we're in with Parker, but I did enjoy this episode more than the one that we had this past week. I think it's probably really successful at delivering what the writers wanted to. I, of course, wish there was something that we could kind of sink our teeth into more on a longer scale, but that is, once again, me resisting NCIS being a procedural, and that is my fault.
Yes.
See, there we are. That's me admitting that I'm wrong. It's okay, everyone. But all right.
You right.
Thank you. Am I? All right. Hit that subscribe button. We are here talking about it every single week. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Matt and Jess TV, and we will see you here next time.